Is here and the FNCS continues on. Let's see what's in store for us. Jacob, the hype is real, right? This is a lobby that, again, we have all been looking forward to. Where are our big boys gonna land up today? How good can they perform? How are these new teams gonna start looking to shape up, right? What's that dynamic looking like as we start leaning straight into Veno and Curve? Veno's somewhat of a perfectionist when it comes down to his land and drop. We've seen him do it some of the best, and as we start to highlight that, of course, he's got something up his sleeve. An excellent double knock, and before they can touch the ground, Veno finds a two-piece.
Already things are switching up, because remember, we were looking at the drop map where like Curve and Veno, they're contested by Void and Alfonso. We see already there's no contested fight. Veno gets the freedom. Danny Fishy and his duo goes down. Veno actually inadvertently helping the south side of Battlewood Boulevard. Electro and Ult, they thought they were going to be contested. Well, not this game.
That's crazy. And you can't fake that level of accuracy, that level of talent, right? Again, if you're counting them out, think again, fellas. But all right, let's settle down. It's just game. It's just heats, right? My gosh, we're off to quite the start here. A couple contested players, as we all know it here, sharing the drop down on the eastern side. But let's get back to Jaeger and crew here. This is of course, the Frigid Fortress. Yesterday, we highlighted this drop as one of the, I'd say, the most contested, but for good reason, right? You have that natural elevation and plenty of loot here to spare.
Yeah, I think the only unfortunate thing is you don't get a ton of metal. You actually have to rotate away from the POI. And then because it is so contested, even if you actually get the Frigid Fortress uncontested, you have to worry about everybody else around you, especially if the zone does pull towards the south. As we go on over to Reed and Cooper, north side of the map, uncontested as well. And the interesting thing about this spot over here is Reed and Cooper have the luxury of staying here as long as they want. You already see Reed flying in the sky because there's a launch pad over on this side of the map, Monster. It's not a regular launch pad. I call this one the long pad because on this side of the map, it actually takes you further and farther. And if you combine that with the Flowberry Fizz, you can see why Reed and Cooper have no worries in the early game.
Yeah, have somewhat of a super launch pad. You know, Reed's no stranger playing outskirt maps. You look back to his previous chapter drop. So this is really interesting how the dynamic changes now that you have again, the super launch pad here to play off of as well. So that's going to go ahead and play into their favor. A little bit of a standoff here between JV, Smiley, and the opponents, but nothing serious breaking out just yet at the wonky land. Yesterday, we saw plenty of tactics coming out here from, of course, the likes of Ritual. This time, though, yeah, they seem to just be holding down this vending machine and really content, more or less, with hanging out for now.
Yeah, and honestly, with Shark and Teeny on EU, with Max and his duo yesterday in Heat 1, even though we're used to seeing Wonky Land uncontested, I think it's proven you can kind of get away with splitting that drop spot and still having a good performance. You just know, just like everybody else, you don't want to be contested right out of the gates. Sinetto, Kazis, you see the early game fights. They're easily able to wrap those ones up at the edge of the map as well, so they know the chances of getting third-partied are slim to none this early.
Nice little highlight for them there, picking up those quick sets of eliminations. Jumping back with Kira. Bubba now who's on the rotate, just going on the outskirts here. Playing relatively passively right now.
Yeah, on this side of the map here where you can kind of see all the way on the southeastern edge. There's two teams immediately contested at two different drops. There's one in the middle at New Sanctuary that's uncontested. But kind of as I said yesterday, New Sanctuary, even if it's uncontested, getting out of that POI, that's what's the chore, not necessarily looting up. So continue to see how that one goes on as Frigid Fortress. Monster, you said this is probably one of the more stacked sides of the map, and you're still seeing teams, ones that didn't even necessarily land at the Frigid Fortress. That's Dash and Cam. They land just south of it. The loot there isn't necessarily enough. You have to create some sort of loot path so you can get the rest of your loadout, and that's why you see Dash and Cam not only floating around their actual spot, going north. They see blanks with their surge tower there, so they don't want to continue to rotate in that direction, so that just takes away one of their options.
Yeah, and you can see them just looking for scraps there. The material count showing that they are still also likely in dire need of metal. Threats and Veer not having so much of the same issues here on the western side of the Riptides.
And this is what, you know, Threats and Veer, when we're talking about a team like Threats, when it comes from Surge, watching him all last year in trios, he was the main guy on his trios collecting that Surge. And you kind of look at their stats and their performances now, as a team, they do have a high damage ratio, but it's Veer that's actually taking the role, getting a lot of their Surge. He had a 2.16 damage ratio, while Threats had a 1.64, I do believe. So they're both up there in damage, but you can see a lot of these duos really defining their roles when it comes to getting Surge versus getting a lot of the missing loadout spots and the resources that you need.
And Threats is for sure underrated when it comes to that. But look at this, Kaz and Sonetto using that Overdrive Shock to go and rotate out. They already picked themselves up in elimination here, so pretty much content with the overall damage that they've done, and they're trying to get to the side of the zone here to likely just pressure other teams out. Meanwhile, you have Salt in enough here, likely getting cut off, so it might just be a clash happening as we start talking about that. Veno, of course, up to no good here, sneaking in, jumps inside the box, and I mean, this might just be all she wrote. Yep, making it look nice and easy. The shotgun shot was so massive there, and he just doesn't miss. What do you do with this abundance of loot here now? I mean, this is a crazy hot start for them.
Yeah, that's actually, they get the 2 eliminations off drop. Obviously, they're not able to loot those. And I was thinking, man, you just you helped Electro, one of the guys he just took down, because now they're uncontested towards the south. But Veno leaves no stone unturned. He looks around, catches them off guard, and I think that's a decent strategy, because now they thought they were kind of free. They get uncontested. The team they were fighting went down. What are the odds somebody lurks on us? Well, pretty high when you're going against Veno and Curve on the other side, and that's going to help them a ton for their Surge. Remember, right out of the gates, they got the 200 because of the full eliminations there, and then another 200 there from the lurk. So I would imagine Veno and Curve as of now are positive 400 damage.
I mean, like, they've taken no damage. So amongst all that, not only that, they haven't taken any damage, so they've actually absorbed the full, you know, benefits, right, under the new Surge kind of ruling. Very, very strong position to be in right now. This is just game 1, right? So how are the teams going to adjust now? Because they have to do something different. Surely you gotta have their guard up a lot more. You can see from Electro's perspective, he's like, my bad, bro. It's like, oh,
no, that was more than my bad, bro. That's one I feel like he's not gonna live down after that one. The community might not let him, because that's 2 things that went wrong, because he wasn't able to catch the lurk from Veno, and then he makes a mistake with the shockwave. But for Veno and Curve, they're eating good at Battlewood, because not only that, they pull the actual zone. It's still early, 3rd zone, but for now they have very little to worry about against everybody else.
I saw a clip yesterday. People were circulating someone falling off a high ground. You know, I'm not gonna name no names. It was rough. It happens. But that, broadcast put that one back for y'all. Sorry.
It absolutely shows the pressure, I think, that a lot of players are going through. And I think as the day does go on, a lot of those mistakes will kind of cease to exist. They'll kind of tighten up. But until then, that's what you kind of see. But you see, I was talking about Threats Veer being great fighters. Muzz got to be the most effective fighter in play-ins. 2.67 damage ratio. That's not a meme. That is just pure dominance coming out of Muzz. And him and Sphinx, they already have a Div Cup win under their belt this season as well, performing well in Reload Elite Series. So it thinks like their former teams, they got cursed, they broke up, they had to play together, but now it looks like a blessing more than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely love that stat. Just flexing how good, how smart of a player Muzz really is. Start talking about smart plays here. Cuban and Cryptic going for a dead side rotate right now, playing the outskirts of the Battlewood. So far, so good. Loadout's looking pretty strong. They're in a pretty prime situation to do good things here to kick things off. And those y'all just tuned in, remember what's on the line right now is your ride to the finals. Can you pull in the big victory royale? Will you have to just be consistent and show up here in the lobby? 52 players for the first time here inside the heats that are looking to make their potential first finals. You love to see it, but it also just flexes that what feels like basically the bulk of the lobby, right? The other half of the lobby has been here, has done this before.
Down underneath through the tunnels. It's an easy way to rotate without being spotted up above, but you have to be careful. You never know if somebody else is lurking underneath in that tunnels, especially since you can hear the footsteps from above you. So right now, for Accept, his duo, they're able to get the inside vaults underneath. I forget what it's actually called, but you kind of go through these tunnels. It unlocks one of those little things that you can pick up, and then you take it there to get the legendary chest. And it's one of those things that you have to go in and out of these tunnels in order to get spawned on the map.
I like how they understand too that, hey, we got to be really tactical here. And look, it ends up paying off. This is a team that's not as cautious as them. And this is exactly what you need to look out for. And this is what Blind and Accept we're trying to not have happen to them. You know, I was going to call out the fact that they're spending a lot of time right now in the mid game with not a lot of material. But hey, who needs to farm when you can go ahead and get an elimination, eat up just like that? And that's going to bode very well for their surge overall as well.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You can't get caught underneath, especially if a team is already lurking. As the game goes on, it becomes more and more of a no-fly zone, so to say. But they're 196 above the damage threshold. So for this zone, they honestly don't have to necessarily move. Yes, they have to get to zone, but don't have to worry about surge. Cooper, Reed, they got a little bit of worry in their minds. 122 above the damage threshold. Reed looking like he was going to get aggressive there. They got some early damage on that team, but you can see the zone is pulling towards the south, even though there's not too many players around of the third party. As this game continues, that threat will increase.
I like the instant response there by Reed playing alongside Cooper. Whoever made the comms to double back there, playing in sync, which is what's most important. Even now, though, there's potential airdrop down low, but full focus here on getting their material counts back up and stabilized. Meanwhile, have Yex and Ducky here, just below the surge right now. 69 damage below. Plenty of potential opportunities to take a fight nearby him, but only got a couple seconds to make a move here. It's going a bit back and forth here as other teams are already looking to engage.
Yeah, you can kind of see right now, 45 above the damage threshold. They're right there next to zone. But once we go into the next phase of the game, that Storm Surge, they might be under it. So they need to start being proactive to try to get that damage. For now, it's all fine and dandy, 45 above. But that's why you see Ducky getting aggressive, trying to take control of the pieces that we can fire off from above. But since they're at the edge of zone, they can look back. They see so many other teams that also still have to make their rotation in. And with the overdrive shockwave grenades being the primary mode of rotation, there's going to be so many chances for them to accumulate that damage.
Gotta continue to be flexible here. Get the damage. Landed tags. Don't miss out on any opportunities. Starting to jump in with Hound. Someone we've seen time and time again. No stranger to these set lobbies right now. Looking very much solidified. 368 damage above the threshold. QT's aim. Meanwhile, Muzz and Sphinx a bit low on shields right now. They've gotten into a bit of a skirmish. However, they are positioned relatively finely on the overall damage here. Already turning the lobby back against Cube's duo there in the distance.
Kind of seeing the south side of this zone becoming more and more stacked, maybe even the east side as well. That's where it was already open up, and it's opening up more so on the north and the western side. So if you're ready to take that risk, you could try to grab some open land where nobody's there. Unless you're gonna be stuck here with Muzz and Sphinx. At least them, they got almost 400 damage above that threshold. One less worry in the back of their mind, but 79 people still left alive. You said it yesterday, sometimes the game ones move a little bit slower than the rest of the day.
Yeah, normally on NA especially, that's very relevant, right? Like, that's a relevant take. Today, it feels exactly like that. You know, this is what I expected out of Heat 1, given how many newer names were kind of showing up. Heat 1 was moving, I'd say, fairly fast for what it's worth in Game 1, but Heat 2, much different, much more traditional pacing here. This is not looking too hot right now for Reed and Cooper, though, who are under the surge right now. A couple tags there are going to buy them a little bit of relief. This is going to be a critical opportunity now to find some tags to get just a few to stay in the game here. And even just these couple seconds, like even those couple seconds is super important. Look at this. Muzz, Sphinx, uncharacteristically finding themselves way below now. They were already desperately exchanging heals just in the fight before this. Now forced to dig deep once again here.
feel like this is something we saw yesterday, honestly, from Agers, from Ritual, Rise, Curly, teams that booked their ticket to the grand finals. They were games, they were in this exact position, below the damage threshold, getting struck by active surge, having to bounce up and down that actual damage threshold. And you can see Sphinx out of heals, 23 damage above. They have to hope on this next rotation they're able to get the damage that they need, because you see that's further and further away. Teams already prioritizing their rotation ahead of Muzz and Sphinx, and even Muzz has no extra heals in his inventory, so it's almost a must that they need an elimination here.
Yeah, I like the idea that they tried to take out that duo on the side there, but this is extremely sus right now. Again, no heals here, no room for error. Muzz unfortunately didn't land close enough to another enemy there, and he's just trying to trail behind Sphinx. Oh, whoa. Who's that? Someone shockwaved him out. Sphinx gets sent out to the side there too. This is really rough.
Yeah, solo shockwave from Sphinx. Send Muzz flying back a little bit. He goes down, sends him further below the damage threshold. 3 more ticks is all Muzz can really take here in this situation. 1 more already down. He has 3 extra HP. Chris and Drew are there. You see him leaving the extra mats. He's saying, hey, if you're gonna get this elimination, you're not going to get much for it. And he's just making sure to deny anybody those extra resources if he's gonna go down anyway.
Yeah, no free handouts over here. That's a competitor through and through to the very end. I'm looking at this wide eye. I was just about to say Veno is in desperate situation here now. Very low HP, but seems like he's managing to bounce his way back. Just having to use the chug jug here. Curve on the lookout right now. Damage looking good for the duo. Taking a look though, no one's really situated position up for high ground. Acorn and Bolts might be the first to take a stab at it here, but big damage coming in now. This is gonna be bad for Bolts and Acorn as well. What's going on? Also below the surge.
Chug jug. This is not looking good. You hit the nail on the head. They are so far below, and even they are out of their extra heals. This is desperation mode at its finest. One more tick. Bolts goes down. No knock. Straight eliminated. Acorn is able to use the Flowberry Mist while he gets above the damage threshold, but he knows his job is not done just yet. He elevates himself high. This is going to be his best chances to get surged, but other players shockwaving by. Land a couple of more shots. No extra heals for Acorn means he needs a miracle of an elimination here.
He's got some mats to work with, but can he find a siphon? This is going to be very difficult. I love the confidence that a play for high ground, right? This is a real veteran move to say, you know what? I'm super low. However, I got materials. I got to play for my best advantage possible. Let's commit to high ground. Zone ends up pulling somewhat not too favorably here. He's going to have to bounce his way in, and nope, he gets caught in the play there. And just like that, big names falling very early here, and you know, anything can happen. Talk about that passive. You tend to see in game number 1, hey, it plays out even for the best of us.
Yep, everybody kind of falling. 2 Storm Surges getting dropped down, even Eulogy's down here. He's hoping to out-heal it. He does have the Fizz Med Grenade, so that way he can drop it down. That's at least 100 more shield, but he's so far below that damage threshold, he either has to make a huge risk trying to get into a box, or hope to survive it with the heals that he has, and he's choosing the latter. Even Cold on the other half, along with Rapid, having some troubles with Storm Surge. They finally get ahead, but is it too late? Because now Cold is stuck on the outside of the zone, separated from Rapid, trying to find his way back. If no elimination so far, they need to start putting the pedal to the metal, or this opportunity will escape their grasp.
Yeah, movement just looking a little sloppy there, missing edits, missing climbs. No, and then he gets caught from a pre-edit from the other side of the wall. So Rapid has a decision to make now. Do you play this game out, try to play for the res, or just push through the opponents? It's actually a cube on the other side there. Finding his little bit of piece control here. Cold has to drop what little bit of heals that he can, but the zone bounces back. Okay, this is actually favorable. Rapid just has to clutch up right now.
Yeah, he's going against a whole duo trying to break into the box. He's had so much time here to try to get that revive. It's just a fly at a picnic. They're trying to get his food. He just keeps shooing them away. Finally, he's finding success. He does have the med kit as well, but the zone is now creeping up on Cold, who does not have the HP to take too much damage. You got Teeks here, along with Naves going underneath. They have an opportunity to try to look back and catch somebody off guard because they are in the front side of the zone, but they are quickly running out of materials.
Meanwhile, High Ground, though, has Reet and Cooper, 3 eliminations, couple of mats to work with, and they're pressuring the second and third layer teams here. And this is looking very good for Reet and Cooper, but I'm going to assume that they're going to need a refresher here in just a couple moments. Can they find themselves an Elim? Overall, though, look at those SMGs. The first SMG, perfect for applying pressure from top down. Meanwhile, look at Veno's POV. He's bounced his way back in the game, still has plenty of heals to work with as well. And they might be looking to play that overdrive for High Ground as well.
Yeah, that was a good play by Veno, just kind of leading the charge, knowing that his zone is going up that mountain just a little bit. They're trying to prepare just in case they do go for that shockwave. As you see Teeks down below, he found the tunnel. Good luck trying to get out of this one because the zone is closing in. He's definitely putting himself on a clock, gets the resources from his teammate. That might have been the plan all along because now he uses the fizz to get inside of the zone. But Veno goes down, leaving Curve by himself outside with only the pizza in his pocket. He has to use it instantly. Shockwaving with the fizz. They don't make it into zone and they get cut short outside of the top 10.
Cold is somehow back to max HP as well, and they found the refresher. Look at this. Max shield, max health, and he's back like he never left. This is a very close game for them, and talk about a comeback story now playing out. Meanwhile, Veer on the wrong side of the barrel taken down, and that's going to be 4 eliminations now for the duo. Reet and Cooper have to look out for this team because the momentum is starting to add up down low, and they're fizzling out up top.
Yeah, there's only 3 full teams, and you mentioned all of them. Everybody else down below running around as solos, and Cooper and Ree are not letting anybody breathe. They're suffocating them from above. The amount of pressure is insurmountable. Even Neko is just trying to build up to alleviate some of that from the high and the low, but he gets pushed right back on down. Rapid and Cold have to start thinking about a plan B. High Ground might not be the play, so they immediately charge down low. Cold trying to break into the box. His second life here in this game, and he's trying to make it matter. Rapid does the same thing. A huge elimination down below gives him control of the low ground.
This is crazy. Rapid goes off, does his own thing. Cold does his as well, and Raven's all left in the middle here. Huge shot from Cold, though, to keep him in the game, and that's the refresh that they need. And look at this, mistakes from up top. Cooper takes fall damage, and now Reet has to come down by himself, but who wants to be in this situation? Rapid, Cold are here to show up, and they win game number 1 in somehow clean fashion from their side.
If you're Cold, everybody looks at him. The guy doesn't scrim enough. He doesn't practice enough. He doesn't get on the game enough. Well, this is FNCS. He's a prime time player playing with Rapid, and we didn't even really talk about them enough coming into this game. Zeke, what do you have to say now?
Oh my gosh, it's almost like Vivid said, oh, what did he say? It was like a premonition. When it's FNCS time, suddenly Cold comes alive. Man, game 1, that is crazy. You know, we maybe predicted a little bit differently on our top 5 how they could win, but look, Cold and Rapid were in that top 5, right? To see them come out with a win, I'm not surprised, Kelly, but man, it looks good. And the uppercut to end it all too. Ooh, clean.
Oh, very clean. Listen, no good analyst will ever give just a one team answer. We definitely said that Cold and Rapid could have been in first place too. But I mean, to go from being below Storm in zone 7 to getting down in zone 10 to have Rapid be able to bring him back up and then win the game, Vivid, starting day 2 off strong.
I mean, just super impressive from them to, I mean, obviously, you know, we could kind of boil things down to that 2v2 that kind of happened at the end there and put question marks around how they actually went ahead and picked that win up there. But really, yeah, the highlight is just the recovery for them as a duo. I mean, they got a little bit blessed when the storm did go their way and Cold was knocked and Rapid did need to go ahead and find that res. But after that, it was just clinical, right? They just stuck together. They claimed out some space that they could work with. They picked up the eliminations, and it was like every single time they found themselves on like 0 to 5 more builds, they just found their refresh, right? The timing was perfect. They used exactly what they needed to in the situations, and they just clutched up. And I love MDF kind of talked about it at one point too. They were like 2 solos at one point, right? Like how much they were actually back to back and next to each other throughout a lot of that end game. There's also at one point where they separated. They both were able to pick up their own elimination. So just an absolute clinic from Cold and Rapid, and a huge win in game number 1.
It's got me hyped. We have 4 more games of Fortnite, but for now, a short break. When we return, we'll take a look at the lobby list, see kind of how things shook out after game 1, and prep ourselves for game number 2. We'll see you in just a moment. Welcome back, everyone, to the FNCS game number 1, going over to Cold and Rapid. My gosh, what an incredible start to Heat number 2. We do have 4 more games to go, but let's talk about what happened in this last game. We, of course, will take a look at our lobby list in just a moment and kind of talk about some of the duels we saw perform here. You know, I think we should probably talk about Reed and Cooper. Some crazy stuff going. Do we need to? You know. Check, you know, follow social media. You know, maybe you'll see some crazy things happening. It seems like maybe something transpired in the end game there, but we'll get to that. Let's talk about their performance leading up to that. They look amazing, right? Like, they look really strong. There were some kind of touch and go moments in the game, Kelly, but you know, like being below Surge a time or two. But you know, it's just game 1, Kelly. Everything's fine.
I mean, actually, Reed and Cooper, compared to everyone else that I was watching, a lot of our big teams wasn't having too many issues with Storm Surge compared to everyone else. So to see them be able to use that and then kind of turn that into a height hold from all the way from Zone 9 to the very end, and then just a simple misplay. But that really does spell what the FNCS is that you can play everything perfectly, and then just one little misstep pivot could spell disaster.
Yeah, we were watching, we were like, wait, what just happened? I didn't know what happened until that moment right there. Shout out to the replay for kind of giving us a little bit of insight into how that one kind of broke down. Because obviously, you know, they had to play to make it all the way down there and take that 2v2 fight. But a little bit of an early edit there from the boy Reet. Sends Cooper to his demise. That being said, a second place. Obviously, they got to be feeling comfortable after that game. Yeah, they didn't pick up the win, but I feel like the control that they had over the lobby, not only in the end game, but also over the lobby enough to be, you know, one of those teams, one of those, you know, rare teams that felt like in that lobby that was actually okay when it was, you know, concerning Storm Surge. They got to be feeling good after that game, and of course, sitting first place on that consistency leaderboard. But another one of our teams, you know, Kelly, we were kind of coming into the show today, coming into the games today. We were expecting them to do well, maybe expecting them to win one of the first games. Got to be Veno and Curve down there in 9th place. And specifically, this is one of those teams that was struggling with Storm Surge in that mid game.
Yeah, you know, there was a moment around Zone 7 where we saw Curve and Veno had a pretty decent loadout, and I think a lot of that comes down to the early game that we're watching right here. We do know that not only are they contested at Boulevard, but also South Boulevard has another team, but Veno does not care to be contested. He's going to make sure that those players are down and out before they can even hit the ground. And that early aggression is something that we can definitely expect coming out of Veno and Curve. Being contested has never slowed him down. And then being able to kind of turn that early aggression and then be able to coast throughout the middle game until this very final point where they just really weren't able to find their footing. They were kind of sticking to the mid ground. Going for height just did not work out for them. Reed and Cooper able to catch them out real quick.
Yeah, I mean, tough break for the duo there. They had the play, right? We've seen that exact play made so many times before by different teams, even by themselves. But hey, shout out to Reed and Cooper right there for fighting that one off and being well aware of that possibility. They kind of deserve to hold height after being that well aware of something like that.
Crazy stuff, crazy stuff. Let's talk about Acorn and Bolts as well. We kind of found ourselves in a little bit of a precarious situation there at the end. Acorn kind of flying solo, but you know, again, guys, this is just game 1, right? There is a meta within the actual tournament itself. So even though we had a little bit of, you know, kind of crazy end game, everything's fine. We still have 4 more games for them to perform. These guys have to get that win, right? Are we seeing any issues happening at the moment? I mean, you know, 7 below, Kelly?
So a lot of our top teams were below Storm Surge, and Acorn is a very calculated player. He'll look at the lobby and he'll look at the map and kind of plan around teams that are landing near them, his rotations. But when it comes down to heats, you don't really have that much of a plan going into it. You don't even know if these teams you're going to be competing in the grand finals. So it's not too surprising for me to see someone like Acorn and Bolts not have kind of the standout plan that we've seen from Acorn before, because this isn't what he's building a plan towards. If that makes sense.
It was actually crazy. They were set up pretty well that game, right? We kind of tuned in with them before we got to the later parts of that game and kind of like where we saw them go down, and it looked like they were actually pretty healthy off, but they just went for one little rotate. They took so much damage that Storm Surge ratio, it just absolutely depleted, and after that, way too hard to recover.
So yeah, I mean, guys, let's talk about this for a moment. Storm Surge is kind of a bit of an issue right now. Why do we feel like that is? I love that Kelly kind of calls out that a lot of these players are thinking about finals, right? This is a little bit of a different situation being in heats, because you're right, Kelly. Sometimes you think, dude, I'm already planning for this other duo I'm gonna have to fight, but now I've got this other piece kind of in the way. Like, how can we fix this going into game 2?
I mean, if you're Veno, you have teammates land near you. You can just get the damage on them early on, but Acorn and Bolt are going to be uncontested. So maybe rotating early, trying to find some teams that might not have necessarily great rotational plans to just get a few dinks on them. But I don't know, Vivid, what do you think?
Just got to do better, not get hit at all while you're on those rotates, man. I don't know, it's really tough to kind of figure out this storm surge.
Right.
That being said, this is the first time in an FNCS that we've actually seen this storm surge, so there is going to be a little bit of an adjustment period for some of our players, but yeah, I mean, classic, just do better.
Just do better. There we go. Listen, everything's fine. No one freak out. That was just game 1. It is time for game number 2. Let's see how some of our players bounce back and prepare themselves. So casters, take it away.
Thank you, Zeke. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, this is a very new setting, right? We talked about the lobby difficulty jumping up here, Jacob, and it seems like we're watching that play out in real time now.
Yeah, and there's like a little bit of a point like threshold you're aiming for. 145 yesterday was the point threshold for heat number 1. It may not be exact today, but at least you have a little bit of a goal. And when you're looking at the teams, Reed, Cooper, even though they didn't win that game, they're halfway there. So mistakes may happen, but with 4 other games left, there's plenty of time for them and everybody else to kind of fix these mistakes and get on to the next one, because game 2 is ready. So let's just keep the ball rolling.
We all know the boards and the bingo boards are usually safe for finals weekend, but if you were counting on a tier 1 pro editing out another on high ground, well, there you have it. You are reading into the future. Fun stuff happening here. This is just the start of things. Game number 2 now cooking up. And even in the last round, right, that game 1 starting off so exciting with Veno sniping someone straight out the sky, picking up a full duo fresh. So this is what we like to see. Plenty of just interactions that you can never really prepare for.
I'm just sitting laughing to myself right now, because as you guys know, you win a game, you're on to the finals. You don't have to play anymore. Cold and Rapid may have had 1 team contesting here at most. They're out of the lobby. Now we have 4 teams at Dark Dominion say, hey, they're gone, they won, maybe I can mimic that success. But let's see who lives to tell at Dark Dominion, because that's going to be a hard one, not only to survive, but to get any loot out of as we jump on toward Wonky Land, a contested fight we saw yesterday and today. This time it has a buff loot aspect, a higher chance to get those rare chests, more gold. So again, we talked about it last game and we talked about it yesterday. It might be a POI you could split. It definitely should be one here.
Yeah, definitely. When you have that extra loot, chances, of course, to go ahead and fall there. Just to talk about the Dark Dominion a little bit more, yeah, that's crazy. 4 teams trying to adjust their strategy. You know, looking at the Heat 2 drop map, when you start looking in general, okay, who's contesting who, there are a lot of like newer teams, if you will, like first time maybe Heats or first time potential finalist teams contesting one another, all on the outskirts. I don't blame them for making that move, but in some other ways, you just got to stick to your guns, you know? So we'll see who made the wrong decision this go around. Jump back though with Zonda's fight here. This is carrying on. You have Zen and Terratron who have the high ground right now. Looking good. They put a little bit of pressure down, a couple shots, then he back off. Zen not too happy with his loot situation there. And you know, again, you want to do damage and not take damage, right? So sometimes just getting a couple tags is the best you can ask for.
Yeah, it's some success. It's just the little wins along the way, along the journey. Back on over to Wonky Land, though. I would say, hey, maybe you can split it, but it's just a matter if you want to actually try to split it. Cyclops, Bluish, it might seem like they got the better end of the deal when it comes to the overall loot. Full HP as well, and they're pressuring them down below. JB's getting pushed further and further down. Smiley tries to go up and make a play. Trades a shot between him and Bluish. So again, evenly matched when it comes to overall HP. Up until then, JB lands a big shot onto Bluish, but the Fizz med grenade is already down. So instantly, he's starting to regenerate that shield.
I like Cyclops' situation here, but like we talked about, already wasting some important heals. They just go all in. Cyclops finds the bigger tag there, but Smiley gets traded out in the exchange. So this is a 1-for-1. But no, Bluish actually barely holds on there. You can see they don't have extra heals, right, to bounce back, so they can't make a mistake now.
Especially with the Chaos Reloader, both of them are just one pump away from going down, but He jumps out in the open. Cyclops Blue is, hey, sometimes you just got to go ahead and take it. Use our numbers advantage. He could only down one of us at best, and they take the risk. It works out, and they get the rest of Wonky Land by themselves. Just a matter, do they know the rotational tricks using that wheel there? Because it doesn't matter how far the zone goes, they'll be able to catch up to it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like he could have chose the other team, right? Unfortunately, who had like 10 HP total effective. But all good. They win the Wonky Land. They should be set up for success. Meanwhile, in the feed, while that fight was happening here, yeah, you saw Venno find his elimination here at the Battlewood Boulevard. They rotate in. They make quick work of that duo. And then another as we kind of blink away, coming straight south here. So, well played for them.
That's literally everybody that landed at Battlewood. They did it last game, and they did it again here in back-to-back games. They want Battlewood to themselves. Like, how much loot can you possibly take with you? But with the zone kind of moving up, you know they're going to probably try to go to the north side of Battlewood Boulevard, set up on one of those mountains, unless the zone keeps pulling north, of course. But a hot start for Venno and Curve. And I got to give a shout out to Mom and Pop Curve out there that probably has him up on the big screen. I love when parents support their kids and their dreams, and Curve has all the support in the world.
That's awesome. Definitely want to see some screenshots up on the timeline here later. We'll see. But for G Monster, Magma right now, hot in the mix here. Very healthy and somewhat dominating this engagement right now. He's got Aim and Hound on the run big time here. There goes the splashes. Some crucial heals coming out already.
So studio still, you can kind of see, like, not only for the fight here, but it's that mending machine that a lot of teams typically like condition teams like, hey, this one's ours. There are plenty on the map. You can go to the next one, but this one is ours. You even see G Money kind of in the distance. You might have missed it, throwing extra loot over toward those vending machines because that's exactly where they're going to box up. And G Money, one of the players, you know, started as a controller player, moving on over to keyboard and mouse. So he has that duality of knowing how each and every one of these players like to approach the different fights. Stacks AO COD here, center map, and this is where they got to be careful because you can kind of see it in the mini map. I know they don't necessarily have the same luxury to get the information we do, but they're right there in the middle, and there are so many other teams lurking around on that terrain, the environmentals that are there, that they can lurk around to try to get an easy shot if they continue to go around for loot.
Yeah, that was crazy. They were in like maximum danger, and you just have no idea. There's two duos. What looked to be lurking each other at that point as well. Acorn, though, playing deep in the storm here. We saw this backfire on Blake yesterday as they caught storm sickness, trying to heal up at the end game. Cost them a win, but they still qualified nonetheless, Preston and Blake. We think the strat here is for Acorn and Bolts as they're just buying some time. Getting back with Cooper and Reed. Overdrive shot to get out the fight.
Even though after game number one, Reet had the most damage of any other player in the game, you can kind of see their strategy isn't necessarily to fight every single person, every single opportunity they get. They're just trying to slowly rotate towards the slow side of the zone. They see it's pushing all the way on over towards the east. Most of those teams try to box up center, and they're trying to use that to their advantage to get to an uninhabited part of the zone to try to make their game easier for the next couple of zones. Muzz and Sphinx, we saw them in that last game have a ton of struggles when it comes to Storm Surge, but one thing I know about these two players here is they'll never make the same mistakes twice in a singular tournament.
I'm actually really kind of confused here. They only earned 3 points. You know, you wouldn't have thought it, given that they made it pretty far into the mid game, but that's the difference when you fall up short on the placements because you drop early. Pretty interesting stat there, just flexing that although other teams may not have gotten hit, Cold and Rapid were destroyed essentially by the Surge and still managed to get the win there. Oh no, there's no way this works twice now. Come on.
I don't think Kibo was the one that fell for it along with Breezy, so they might not know. And I've never seen the cones edited in that way, down underneath to give you that extra lift, so that way you can kind of peek the shot like that, kind of snake it a little bit. Peek up, fire the shot, pop right back down, kind of some of the old-fashioned Tfue ways of OG. But I think Breezy, his duo know, like, hey, we cannot continue to wander here underneath for free, especially since they weren't the first ones to go down under there. Too much for risk, so I like the decision for them to get out of there.
Yeah, definitely good play. They did any research on any highlights from the last game. You would have saw that one coming pretty early. Ever plays Breezy already on the move right now. They have a nice little elim to themselves as well, so Alta better start this game than last.
Just got to be careful rotating in the open. Even if you think it's safe, there's so many teams either set up in bushes, surge towers, or anywhere they can find inside of the zone. Raven, CDZs, honestly, impressive performance here out of Raven to clutch up a top 3 after that game 1. 67 points, or I believe it's actually 61. They were able to get 6 points due to the eliminations in this game. Just honestly keeping that consistency. And that's what you kind of want to do, because to think you're going to play every single game and every single moment perfect, I think would be almost crazy. So you have to build yourself a little bit of a gap, so that way when things don't go your way, it's easier for you to bounce back out of it, both in-game and mentally.
And having the confidence even there to kind of push for the airdrop. So gotta respect their comfortability right now, even given the Heat's lobby here. Greet Cooper. Back on down to the Sanctuary here. See plenty of teams on the high ground layers above them, but they're just comfortably farming their way through the valley here.
Quickly rotating down from their drop spot is actually huge for Reed and Cooper, because they're dodging, even though this is south where they're at, just towards the east, they're dodging this whole mid portions of the game where teams need surge, they need materials, they need resources, and sometimes the only way to get those is to break into boxes and get elimination. So they're doing a good job, especially since how north they actually started. That launch pad, dodging that one team along the way, and you see Aim and Hound. This is the second time we've seen them in a close quarters combat situation. They dodged the first one, they stay alive, they get elimination, and look at where they're set up inside of zone. There are so many dips and divots around this side of the map that when you have priority like this, you have to be feeling good.
And they also have that launch pad as well, so they're going to be in prime situation. But look at this. This is how the fight breaks out. A lurk play, another massive lurk play. These NA teams just playing absolutely sneakily, and it's working out for the most part. We have Zello, Bob right now sitting above, talking about the lurks. Might be looking to set up another one here on Stiparuni.
Yeah, they're just on a time limit right now. Instead of being able to kind of wait as long as you want until they make a mistake, they're 267 below the damage threshold. So when Storm Surge activates, they're going to have to break into one of the first boxes they see. Stiff trying to play it carefully, not break the full covers, but Zello goes in. Hefe's there trying to follow by his side, but neither one of them land the shots that they need. In fact, it's actually the opposite. Hefe takes a huge amount of damage. He's able to trade out at least one of those knocks, but he's just trying to back up, stay alive. But even though they got the knock, they got the elimination, they just took over 150 damage, so they are still below the threshold.
I was just gonna say, while that's happening, look at this. Cube and Encrypted just sneak on up, hearing the fight breaking out. They know here too, hey, we got that insta elimination, so this team clearly was doing what they had to do. They probably don't want any more to do with that fight, but Hefe and Zello are probably gonna need to keep fighting this. We saw there, I mean, they were barely above. Taking that little bit of damage in the exchange is not ideal, so they're not gonna be safe for much longer. Meanwhile, we have Jace's duo kind of on the pressure here. Stacks and Crew just kind of positioned up down low. This Storm's gonna start doing some significant damage here. Don't get a move on shortly.
And this is a team here, even though we're just starting FNCS Major 1, we're in heats. When you were watching the Reload Elite Series, Jason Jargo, one of the teams throughout the tournament, they were in contention. They were so close to getting that qualification spot. It's just slowly, as the tournament went on, they fizzled out, they lost momentum. And I'm just hoping from then until now, there was plenty of time to build the chemistry, find the strats, and fix what wasn't working. So I'm going to be kind of looking at them throughout the day to see if they're one of the teams that lock in either a win or a top 10 spot through consistency.
Yeah, and even in that Reload Elite Series, right? Like Jargo was showing up, saw Kingaling showing up, right? They obviously are two players that have been a little bit more of a focus on as far as the NA region is concerned. So I like to see Jargo and Jace here performing pretty well right now. Seems like things are starting to work out for them. I don't love seeing Jace's HP just getting cooked right now, so it's time to make it up. Very, very close, but jump into Eulogy, Degen right now. Zone's gonna pull them out of the sus studios. Gonna be one of the last to leave right now. Plenty of distractions happening on over to the south and the eastern sides. Good shots here from Drew, so danger continuing to lurk nearby. And look at this, Jacob. They are only 35 above, right? So this is another team that's going to become very desperate the moment they land inside the new zone.
Yeah, we didn't really see how DJ went down in that last game, but when we tune into Eulogy, he was below the damage threshold, trying to out-heal it. He was finding some success, but from one zone to the next, he felt even further below that damage threshold. Similar situation here. Just hopefully they can find it enough to answer the call. 5 below. That's barely anything. There's no reason to make any desperate plays just yet. Whether it's pistol, AR, or shotgun shot, that'll cover the spread. Zello gets elimination, but we saw how far below the damage threshold he was before. 3 eliminations here. He is 3 full eliminations almost away from going down to Surge.
Yeah, this is pretty rough. I mean, he's got plenty of heals to work with, but between the Storm and the Storm Surge, I mean, this is really rough here. Forced the Chug Splash now. It buys a little bit of relief, but he's really trying to wait this one out. He didn't want to leave the loop, but I think he's recognizing, hey, the math is not mathing. I gotta go. I cannot sit here in the Storm any longer.
Now it's active Surge,
no,
so it just got harder for him.
Too.
Yeah, the other side, 473. They're not even giving him time to pop the minis. Reed and Cooper probably being the leaders of that spray, but it gets cleaned up by a whole nother team. That's success for Reed and Cooper, though. That's one less team they have to work through here in this game. Jason Jargu, we talked about their success, and if they can carry it over here, they find another elimination. And we're already seeing early in these first 2 games of Heat number 2 that Storm Surge is truly impacting so many teams in this lobby.
I like that too, the insta shockwave there to land on that loot, secure the elimination. That's a huge refresh here as we start edging our way into the early instances of this end game now. Let's take a look though. This Surge has not stopped. It's continued to pressure everyone here in the lobby, even the likes of Degen now. Barely above here, not because they're active, but because other teams are exchanging with one another. So it's a little bit of luck on their side here. Game number 2, and they need these points. They're pretty desperate, actually. 15 coming into it, so not quite the game 1 they might have been looking for. It's a great opportunity here. No tags to break through.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate, though, sometimes when you finally get above that damage threshold, you're like, okay, cool, we can focus on the rotation. Then the next zone hits, the next damage threshold hits, and you find yourself below yet again. And usually in stacked games like this, where you get that early Storm Surge warning in the early portions of the game, it almost stays on throughout the entirety of the game till it gets down to around 40 or less players. So if Eulogy and Degen are looking to out-heal this for the next couple of zones, they need 19 individual players to go down or just simply get 84 damage.
Gotta find damage. That's an excellent headshot there onto Kira. All they need is that follow-up body tag here. Can they get any ones? Yes, they do. It's gonna actually be elimination there as well. And then the follow-up here onto up more players shockwaving across. So just perfect opportunities here now, kind of opening themselves up. And it pays off. Degen and Eulogy still do have to make a rotate there. Comes to edit, shockwave. Sphinx and Buzz happens over here. Nice little refresh for them as well.
Fortunately, getting that elimination on Threats. No knock, which means Veer was already down. So Threats and Veer will be out of this game as Salt and Enough make the perfect rotation. That alone, that natural terrain is so high up. You don't necessarily need to build, but they build up even higher to try to negate any chances on this zone, at least, of getting shockwaved on. It is still rather early. 7th zone, moving into 8th. Plenty of time for that to get stolen away. As Acorn and Baltz, I saw him in the feed pick up an elimination. Glad to see how he actually got it.
This is good. We're seeing the teams that were coming up short last game make adjustments and now performing well. Cooper and Reed coming up short for much different reasons, obviously, in that end game, but excellent consistency so far as they're inside this end game right now. Only 70 above, but the finish line is near.
It's almost the difference in their strategy here, focusing on rotation early on in this game to get to zone. Not a lot of opportunities to get the damage, but you're seeing what they're playing with here. Muzz, I don't even know how he's alive right now. A sliver of HP. Luckily for him, he does have the Chug and Cooper leading the charge, or say Sphinx, trying to get to the other side, but high ground beams him down. Sphinx now left by himself, and he's 39 below. Active surge, and he drops even further. 200 below.
What the
he does
fuck
have the big
going
pots, he does
on?
have the Chug, so he's not going to go out just yet. There is still time on his side, but the longer he takes, the further and further below that damage threshold he's going to fall.
And you see, it's 41 players though in the game, right? So he's just got to get a little bit more active. Great tags here. Can he get a finish though? That would have been excellent. Unfortunately, doesn't cover behind him. Gets tagged there in the rotate too, and there it is. Things finally turn off. Still has a shield to work with, so at least the Siphon can put him in healthy position here if he can find one. Meanwhile, Enough and Salt have managed to successfully turn that weird terrain into a continued high ground hold, but Veno and Curve are eyeing up top. Acorn and Bolt still making up for that lost time, right? 27 points now. They're finally starting to show us some life here.
Yeah, no matter what they're going through, they always look at high ground as an opportunity. Just gotta wait for the shockwaves, the fizz. They are looking up as of now, but they see him. They're getting pressured. Acorn trying to hold his position. Salt and Enough not wanting to give it up without a fight, but Reet and Cooper, they're elevating themselves as well. We're going back over to familiar terrain, so this is not gonna be easy for anybody to overthrow them up at the top. Even Bolt is having a little bit of struggles, gets chunked out, dropped down to less than 30 HP, but luckily for him, he reunites with Acorn in an instant and already go from defensive to offensive, getting a good amount of damage, pushing that team further and further away.
That Flowberry miss just keeping them alive right now in the game here. The pizza, they're gonna go in and munch that as well, and they've got enough, but Veno falls here, and then Curve gets sidelined without him realizing someone jumps inside the box. Acorn passing by some serious danger. There was a player in the cone there as well. So just danger lurking everywhere. It's actually encrypted. High ground though, still being comfortably held now by Salt and Enough. They just got so much distance between themselves and all of the juggernauts in the lobby here.
For a moment, it was looking like Acorn and Bolts were going up, but Salt and Enough saw it coming, focusing onto that second height, send them packing down below, and now Bolts and Acorn are in another scuffle. Bolts picks up a big one onto Drew. Siphon mats absolutely needed, even getting a big pop, but time has come. Enough and Salt get dropped down, but that's only step number one, because they're instantly building their way back on up. They went over recycled builds, so it's not going to be easy, but Cooper, Reet, they go up, they use the shockwaves, and they've stolen away the high ground in back-to-back games here.
I love this, but look at this. G-Monster, Magma are coming up, and Reek gets folded like a pretzel there. Salt comes up as well. What is going on here? There are just some dangerous exchanges happening back and forth. Salt Enough actually decide, hey, you know what? This is our high ground, and we want to take this win. And all of a sudden, down low, if you blink, you missed it. Acorn's down. Bolt's fending for himself here. Clutching up, though, with 2 more eliminations in the storm. It's the Siphon keeping him alive here.
Yeah, he's able to pick up some splashes, got some med kits. He has the Chug, and a decent amount of builds in comparison to some others in this lobby. Enough is going to be by himself. Salt did go down. We have G-Money, a full duo. Naves and Teeks, a full duo. Encrypted goes down. That's a big elimination for Bolt. One step closer and a little bit more resources to work with. Another solo taken down by G-Money and Magma down below. It's a battle of the duos who are taking full control over the game, and I use that loosely because that was G-Money and his duo, the only full team left alive against Enough and Bolt.
No
a 2v1v1
way.
situation. A lot of heals still in Bolt's inventory though.
I just want to say Bolts is absolutely crazy. He's on like 4 eliminations
Money
solo
up
right now, by the way. Just
yeah.
putting up the numbers here. Game 1 was a swing and a miss for Acorn and Bolts, but they are back based off of this performance from Bolts. Meanwhile, G-Money, Magma, just trying to figure out how do we stop this guy. He's like on fire right now, and Bolts is just giving him a run here. Enough jumps down. Wait a second. Now he's the distraction, and all of a sudden, Bolts is trying to pull the clutch off here.
Yeah, remember, he does have that one med kit. I don't remember what G-Money and Magma have down below in terms of actual
not
HP
then.
heals, but that could be the difference maker here in this actual tournament. As you see, Bolts is on the top. You got Enough, kind of that meat in the middle of the sandwich, and he's following the zone all the way
No
through.
fuck.
Magma tries to make a play.
No way.
The down
No
goes
way.
It's a siphon for Bolts, and he steals
What?
away the game. Oh my God.
I'm I'm just holding my breath.
Wow.
Bolt is crazy. That might be the best clutch we've seen in 2026, and we might see for the remainder of the year. That was so wonderfully executed by Bolt, and Acorn's got to be happy there. Zeke, what a performance.
Bolt? Hello? What in the world am I watching? Oh my gosh. That was the craziest thing I think I've ever seen. It's so crazy, like in that situation. If you're G Money, you're thinking like, dude, there's no builds going out up there. Like, I can hear them running around up there. They ain't got, I have my duo here. This isn't, no, we're going through the finals. Bolt's just sitting there biding his time, Kelly, waiting for them to make a move, and then he strikes, and now they're going to finals off a solo clutch? That's crazy.
I can't believe what we just watched. I mean, pretty early on in that end game, Acorn and Bolts were on second height, and then they decided to drop down to low. Bolts did it really quickly, but Acorn just took a few extra seconds, and that allowed the entire lobby to just take some shots on them and drop it. And then for Bolts to be able to go as a solo, have that happen to your teammate, and then to turn it around for a win, to see that he saw I am enough, drop from high ground, and then to steal it as a solo. Vivid, I cannot believe what we just watched.
Incredible individual performance from Bolts. You know, we gotta go ahead and mention it. After game number 1, Acorn and Bolts, we were talking about the strategy, their approach to that game, right? Because Storm Surge was such a hindrance in that first game, and we kind of tuned in with them in the middle game. Yeah, look at this. Look how good this position is for them to just go ahead and deal damage. They were chilling after this moment right here. You can see 200 above with 0 elimination, so it was all about getting those tags. And yeah, like Kelly mentioned, they were in a really good spot as a duo. They were second height, they were finding the elimination, they were kind of poised to go ahead and potentially take the higher ground. Because of how the terrain ended up working out, they were forced all the way down to the lower ground. Acorn unfortunately ends up going down in the mix of things, and then after that, I mean, Bolch just took over and the show was all his.
I am just shocked, guys. To think game 1, 28 with 4 elims, to just bring it back. I just want to watch. I just got to watch this back, dude. Bolts, you are such a legend. If I'm Acorn, I'm freaking out, dude. I'm like, dude, disgusting. That's incredible. That's crazy. That's insane. That was just game 2. We have 3 more games to go after this. Okay. I need to collect myself, okay? We're gonna go to a break. When we come back, we're gonna rewatch that moment again,
Both
and then get into the live list. We'll see you in a moment. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Antito. So to cut on it. Both not what to win that.